What can someone say to you to make you the most insecure? This question is a window to your past, your inner psychology, and your story. And if you're willing to answer it correctly and honestly and share it, it can be one of the most beautiful connecting questions and most healing questions you can possibly ask yourself. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. So why would we want to know about this question? What is it that makes us most insecure that someone could say? Why is that relevant to anything? And why on earth would that be beautiful? Our triggers and our wounds do not hide. When something in life brushes past them, they get activated. You see, if I pick an insult that you've never received before, something no one has ever said to you, and in fact, something you're 100% confident about, oh, you have a funny walk. What's wrong with your walk? You know, you might be a little perturbed for a second, or you might be a little confused, maybe even a little hurt, but it's not going to clang your insecurities the way me picking on that one thing that you're most insecure about, me commenting on that, you know how hard that would hit you. For me, it was always my skin. I grew up with very white skin, was always made fun of for it. And for the longest time, well into my teenage years, early adulthood, people making comments about my skin would shatter my insides. It was just a clang that wasn't appropriate to the situation. But it wasn't appropriate to the situation. It was appropriate to the situation that I grew up in as a kid. And so that became part of my story, understanding where that wound came from and understanding how I felt when I was called those names became an insight into myself and helped my partner and others understand who I am. The same can be true of any of your insecurities and wounds. Look for what someone can say that is the most triggering to you. I was working with a client recently on this, and she's a very confident, very successful woman. She's amazing. And I said to her this question, what would make you the most insecure? And she said, if someone was to, walk up to me and scoff a little bit and say, oh, you're just a dumb blonde. She said, I would have an inner meltdown. Now, she's built her life around being the opposite of that. She's brilliantly smart. She's extremely successful. She's still blonde, I suppose, but she's worked on being the opposite of that dumb blonde stereotype that she was so insecure about. And yet, despite her adult body having done such a wonderful job of being the exact opposite of what her child body worried she was, the healing has not yet been done. The child self has not truly absorbed that she is not that. And when someone flings that specific arrow at her, it goes straight through the adult, hits the child, and hence the nervous system clang. A more general example can be felt on this around sexuality. You've been a teenage woman. You know what it's like to be a teenage woman. You know how teenage girls gossip and chatter. One of the names that most teenage girls are called at some point, and I'm going to get banned on YouTube for saying this, is a slut. And that's why for most women, it's one of the most derogatory, hurtful, nerve-jangling words that they can be called. Because the vast majority of women have at some stage as teenagers in the social competition that goes on, they've questioned themselves. Well, am I a slut? A young lady, as she's coming into her sexuality and learning what that means, of course, is going to have that question. And other teenage girls pick up on that weakness and call each other that name. So for most women, that's the most derogatory term because it's been installed when they were younger. So you can look, and again, you can logically know that your sexuality is completely healthy and it still has that extra derogatory clang when that word is used on you. So look around in your psyche for whereabouts are those words. What can people say to you that the response becomes magnitudes disproportionate to what was actually shared? There'll be certain insults that hurt, most insults do, and then there'll be certain that shake you. There'll be certain ones that leave you thinking about them for days, leave you questioning yourself. It's those ones that are where the base insecurity lies. Once you know where it lies, you can do some work with a coach on your own, perhaps with a therapist, to be with that younger part of yourself. So in the example of the client I gave about the dumb blonde, we had her go back to her child self. We had her hear, like actually stop and listen to how her child self was made to feel, how that actually felt. No dismissing the feelings, no, well, you shouldn't feel that way, or no kind of logicking, analyzing through it. How did that actually feel for you? When you were 6, or 11, I think she was, when you were 6, 11, whatever the age, to be called a dumb blonde and to be looked down on again and again and again like that, how did that actually feel for the younger version of you? And we know it hurt because we know that she grew up to be so successful. And so the opposite of that, that has to come from pain. So we had her stop and really be, or I had her stop and really be with that younger child self who was called that and made to feel those huge feelings that were unmanageable at the time. And the goal is, and now the point she's at is that she can be called that and it won't have that same clang anymore. She is able to kind of step in the way of her child self, and she's able to adopt that new identity of her adult self while defending the child and basically saying, I'm going to deal with them. You are not that. You are the complete opposite. You are the smartest, most beautiful little girl, the most intelligent little girl. You're going to be the most successful in the future. Look at me. You are literally the opposite of a dumb blonde. But until you go back and actually empathize and be with the part of you that was hurled that insult, you can grow up, you can become the opposite of the insult, but the insecurity is still going to be there, and it's still going to go like an arrow through and hit your younger self. And this is why the inner work is so important. By being with that part of you that was made to feel that, by unburdening those feelings, you'll be able to move through the world without the fear of someone bringing that up and without that trigger de-writing you off your positive, healthy relationship skills. And often that's what our triggers do, is we get triggered and suddenly all bets are off in terms of our dating and relationship skills. The less you can be triggered, the more you can maintain that sense of calm, relaxedness in your nervous system, sometimes playful, sometimes happy, sometimes joyous, sometimes just calm. The less you're in a triggered state, the better your dating and relationship skills are going to be. So finding out where those couple of core insecurities for you are is very powerful to do that. If you feel comfortable sharing, let me know one in the comments that you were called. You don't have to pick the most vulnerable or insecure one, but maybe just one that has a 5 out of 10 level energy for you. What were you made to feel when you were younger? What was something you were called that you know still hits that extra nerve now if someone were to say that to you in your adult life? Let me know. If you want to work on this stuff one-on-one, happy to do so with you. I've got my no man, no fee guarantee, and we do a lot of this healing work along the way. So hit me up. Booking link is in the description. Otherwise, hit the subscribe button with the little bell. Give the video a thumbs up. And again, leave your comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.